In this video, we're going to use standard deviation as a measure of spread or dispersion. So take a moment to pause the video to read the full problem statement. Notice that we're given the mean, and to begin with, we're given that the standard deviation is 3. So the mean was 16, and the standard deviation is 3. And then we're asked how many standard deviations is 28 from 16. So we're going to use standard deviation as a yardstick, and I'll show a diagram of that in a second, to ultimately answer if 28 is far away from a mean of 16 when the standard deviation is 3. So here I'm choosing the normal distribution, but I really don't need that red curve here. But what I do need is this number line with marks at the center. And then again, I'm going to use these tick marks, like you think of the tick marks that you see on a yardstick or a ruler, to help us fill in those standard deviations. So we always start at the center, labeling the mean. In this case, that was 16. And then we take the standard deviation, 3, and we add that to the mean to get the value at the next tick mark, which is 19. We continue to add 3, and we can then fill in the values on each tick mark. We want to do the same thing moving to the left, but since we're moving to the left on the number line, we must subtract 3. So 16 minus 3 is 13. Subtract 3 again, and subtract 3 again. And we have filled in these values as a way to explain the center and spread of this data. But 28 is not on this graph anywhere or on this number line anywhere. So how many standard deviations is 28 away from 16? Well, let's fill in some more tick marks. We know 28 is over here to the right, and it's actually exactly 3 more units away. So that would be at the next tick mark, we would see 28, because 25 plus 3 gives us 28. And then we count from the center the number of tick marks. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. So in other words, we are 4 standard deviations away from the mean 16. So ultimately, when we come back to this question, is 28 far away? And we're going to use 2 standard deviations as being anything further than 2 standard deviations away from the mean is far away. We would say yes, because 28 is more than 2 standard deviations away from the mean 16. In part C, you're using a different value for standard deviation. You're going to use 8. I've updated our number line to account for that different standard deviation. We still have the mean is at 16. It's in the center. This time I'm adding 8 as I move to the right for each tick mark, and I'm subtracting 8 as I move to the left for each tick mark. And where is 28? Let's see. 28 would be right about here. I'm a little bit off, but somewhere in here in this area. How many standard deviations away from 16 is that? Well, we could get an exact value, but it's very clear to see it's within 2 standard deviations. Here's 1 standard deviation, 2 standard deviations. So again, back to our question. Here we're going to say that no, 28 is not that far away because it is less than 2 standard deviations away from the mean.